Well, the Daily Mail has published more exposés from Hunter Biden's laptop, more details about what the president's son has been up to in recent years. And the story is salacious, I warn you. It has a lot of an ick factor. It's not just that, this person is an addict and has some sort of self-destructing behavior. It is also exposing how far the president of the United States has gone to cover up for his son and perhaps to cover up some business dealings that made its way full circle to the president.
Yeah, so for some context here, like how did we get to this leak? Well, Washington Examiner explains it well with this cover story. The leak came from a tech guy in New Zealand that had a copy of the 28 gigabyte hard drive, okay? This tech guy, I don't know how he got it, managed to get it, and then uploaded its contents to 4chan, the website, right? Then 4chan starts going through it, and then users start posting it on torrent websites as well. So then once it goes on a torrent website, it's much the same way that Napster and other things used to run back in the day. But torrents then live on different servers around the world on whoever wants to host it, right? We could literally post it on our computer if we felt like it, but we're not.
We don't.
We don't, and we're not. And now it's impossible to put that genie back in the bottle. Like if you were if like the Biden administration was hoping that, hey, only 4 people had this laptop and contents of it, forget it. Now it's all out there. It's all out there, and it's going to be, it's going to be absolutely destructive for the Biden administration, and we could see the destructive behavior of Hunter Biden. One of the videos that has now been released on 4chan, pulled from this website, is of Hunter Biden weighing some crack. So this is the one that started to come out today. So here's a video of him. We'll just play a little bit of it. Here he is. And he likes to film himself doing these things.
I just weighed out the bag.
I mean, he could be very fond of crystals.
Yeah, but that's crack cocaine. So he takes his shirt off and he likes to film himself and so he's weighing crack cocaine with a girl that it's in his room at the time. This is just like one of many, right, videos. It's
so brazen, when you're doing kind of illicit things to continue to film them.
Yeah, I would think so. So I want to kind of go back a little bit here, and I want to put up this, I think a good way to frame this is sort of how you started this, but also I need a little bit further push here from Glenn Greenwald. And he lays it out. Glenn Greenwald, of course, the Pulitzer Prize.
The person who exposed the Snowden documents.
Yes, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, amazing journalist. He laid this out. He puts it up. He says, materials from Hunter Biden's laptop about his and his father's pursuits of business deals in China, Ukraine, and elsewhere are highly relevant. That's why pre-election CIA lies and big tech censorship were so grave. Materials about his drug use and sex life, absent more, are not. Then he says, same obviously goes for his phone. Interest in Hunter Biden's private life regarding sex and drugs seems nothing more prurient and tawdry to me. Adult consensual behavior is almost never newsworthy. I think that's a good way to frame it, right?
Okay.
So forget his drug use, and yes, he's a crackhead, and yes, he has addiction problems.
I don't want to use that term crackhead. He is an addict.
Okay, you don't have to use that term, but remember, politicians can use that term.
Sure.
And by the way, or Hunter Biden's father used those terms when he was pushing for the crime bill back in 1991, 1992, 1993. So here is Senator Biden back in 1991 condemning the use of crack cocaine and why we should put these people behind bars for many, many years. Watch.
If you have a piece of crack cocaine no bigger than this quarter that I'm holding in my hand, 1/4 of $1, we passed a law through the leadership of Senator Thurmond and myself and others, a law that says if you're caught with that, you go to jail for 5 years. You get no probation. You get nothing other than 5 years in jail. Judge doesn't have a choice.
So, these are, and of course he went on to talk about predators on the streets and
right.
Obviously cracking down on these people on the streets. And we'll get to that in just a moment. But the videos there of him, so you have Hunter Biden in these videos waving around his 9mm gun. Illegal gun, by the way, right? So it's okay for some. Again, to me, a lot of the story is the double standard. It's the hypocrisy.
Well, it's more than that, right? There's also there's fraud involved in money, right? And so images were posted of checks that he wrote to women who offered sexual services, right? I think what they put on their website is they offered like companion services and double companion services. But if you look at the check, he used his personal Wells Fargo account, and he wrote on their Blue Water Wellness, which was some wellness company that he used in some of his rehabilitation efforts. But the women involved had nothing to do with that wellness. So he was sort of passing this off as a medical expense so that it could be taxed, either a taxable deduction or something along those lines, right? So for most people, when they have to pay for, if they choose to, escort services, that should not be a taxable deduction, right?
No, and they were trying to get him. Yeah. So, and then by the way, some of these checks bounced. Like
some of them bounced. Also, they were flagged by J.P. Morgan Chase with a SAR report, or a suspicious activity report, right? Now, some say this group was from a Ukrainian group that has been linked to human trafficking rings that use underage girls. So, of course, those are important pieces, right? That we would hope the president of the United States would be against those things, whether or not they were in the past of a family member that is an addict, right? We can offer some empathy while at the same time say we all should be against this, right?
Yeah. Well, of course it should be.
Well, and I saw some of the video. I saw some of the videos, like they had like a compilation video that they put out, and a lot of the girls in the video, if they were 18, I'd be shocked. Like they did not even look like they were close to 18
Well, that's
years
the
old.
heart of the matter here, right? So let's put up this is him with a couple of these escorts. This is
The one where the faces are blurred.
Yeah, the girls' faces are blurred. He's sitting there just taking photos. That he would do this with these women, and he would put them on Amtrak trains from New York City and send them down to where he was, right? And so, the real question is, it coming across state lines, right? So you have these different task forces. So here, put that this is an e-ticket up on the screen. This is an Amtrak e-ticket. Or, the girls are asking, like, okay, well, did you get the train ticket? And he's sending them the train tickets via email. And he's like, how much more do I need? Okay, $3,000, $5,000. Come on down, come on down.
Now, there's also a chain of text messages in which he is negotiating the price up until certain hours, where the girls are telling him you can get this service until 9 a.m. And he's negotiating an extra few hours to get the services till noon, which sounds really exhausting. And he is saying, no, I already paid $5,000. And some of the texts and some of the other documents show that his father has already transferred him $5,000. And then a few minutes later, he is negotiating with this block of $5,000. So this is relevant because, again, the president has always said he doesn't really do business with his son. He doesn't know much about his son's business, right? So we'll take this sort of behavior issue aside and then talk about what else is there, which is a voicemail from President Biden to his son in 2018. We're going to play it for you. Last night, Tucker Carlson's show released a transcript, and so we'll play you that.
Okay. Yeah, but before we do that, though, I mean, we're going to get there in a second. But I want to say, like, on this crossing state lines thing, we have a soundbite here from him, President Biden, in 1993, that I wanted to get to, because the crossing state lines, the use of like underage women, drug use, waving a gun around, all of the things that then Senator Biden in 1993 stood on the Senate floor and talked about. These are people we need to get off the streets. And by the way, I don't even care, he said, about rehabilitation. Like, maybe they get rehabbed. I don't care. We got to get these people off the streets. They are predators, as plain as day predators. Take a listen.
They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth.
Yeah.
Okay, but I do want to offer this. At this point, when he's speaking, his son was, 18, 19, right? And maybe he couldn't see far enough into the future to have empathy for someone who is truly troubled enough to do things like this. So can we give him a pass because at the time he had no experience with this? I just want to open that up and leave space for it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, empathy is always a good thing, right? Empathy is always important.
Right. So you can say whatever you want. A lot of us do, right? Say blowhard things about things that we have never experienced. And then can we maybe leave space for him to feel differently now, 30 years later, now
But
that
then
his
why
son...
doesn't he? Then why doesn't he fight to overturn that legislation that he created out of it, the crime bill?
I mean, this is the ultimate question, right? This is the, the critics of it, of course, led to mass incarceration, right? Mass incarceration across the United States of people of lower means, right?
Yeah.
And it's led to a disproportionate level of mass incarceration across the United States of people of lower means. So yes, so you're running on the progressive ticket as a Democrat, and this was one of the things that he was challenged on, but not enough. It was swept under the rug during the campaign. It wasn't talked about enough. News anchors didn't really ask him about it. It only got brought up tangentially during some of the debates, right?
All right, the chat room saying no pass, not at all. And I get that, right? We can all feel a certain way.
I totally would.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I totally would 100% be on board with you, but it's like actions speak louder than words. If you actually did become empathetic to that, then he's had a lot of time, because Hunter Biden has had this problem for quite some time, that he could have been like, you know what, I was wrong, and admitted it on the campaign trail that I'm going to overturn that, but he hasn't said a single word about it. He's actually still, in his discussions, proud of the bill he created.
Yeah, and also, so Natalie brought up this voicemail from 2018, where he'd been asked repeatedly about this. So let's go back, because President Biden had been asked repeatedly back over the years, lying about business. Do you have any recollection? Have you talked to your son about business dealings in China? Have you done any of this? Have you talked to him about his businesses in Ukraine, et cetera, et cetera? And here's what President Biden said repeatedly. Listen.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business. I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their businesses, period.
Never.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, let's play the voicemail then. That is President Biden leaving a voicemail for his son. And it starts out very much like those of us who have elderly parents. They do exactly this. Like, hey, it's Dad. It's Wednesday at 5 p.m., right? Mm-hmm. It's very like, it pulls at your heart, because you realize how much sincerity there is. But he is clearly indicating that he knows of his son's overseas business dealings. So let's play it and we'll explain it.
A voicemail from Joe Biden to his son, talking about a story in the New York Times about Hunter Biden's business dealings in China. Here's part of it.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think you're clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call. I love you.
So that's December 2018.
Now, the voicemail, the Times article in question was specifically about a business deal in China, right?
Right.
And so the president is saying that I know about this business deal. I see the way the Times covered it. I think you're in the clear. We're fine. We don't have to worry about negative media coverage. There's something there that's not discussed, right? Something that would mean they weren't in the clear, right? It's a heartbreaking voicemail. I find it because it's so...
Yeah, and I think this speaks to, I know you've interviewed President Biden. There's a lot of people I've, been close with who I've been friends with, then Senator Biden, even on the Republican side, who always spoke highly of him. And it was always like, you leave the family stuff aside, right? You don't talk about the Chelsea Clinton stuff. You don't talk about Hunter Biden. You don't talk about Sasha and Malia. You just leave the president's kids alone, right? But when it speaks to corruption and it speaks to using political power to curry favor with foreign leaders for monetary gain at the expense of the American taxpayer, that's when it crosses the line. That's when hey, the photos of him naked and all that becomes part of the broader story. The bigger story is his relationship with these Chinese state-run companies,
Yes,
and these Ukrainian companies, and how in the world are they getting free passes for certain things? Why is China getting free passes on certain things? Why is Ukraine getting billions of dollars in unaccounted for money?
right.
When you have relationships
Well,
with
then
Hunter Biden
When
and Joe
Trump
Biden.
allies are being punished for foreign reporting laws or
Right.
violating foreign reporting laws, right? Going to jail for these types of things. Why is Hunter Biden not being scrutinized in the same way, right? These
Right.
seem to be clear violations of what is it called? The FARA Act, foreign
Act, yeah.
reporting, something along those lines. So clearly these are things, right, that these are not the rules for the rest of us, and we should have a clear understanding of whether or not favor with the president is up for sale through his heirs.
Yeah, and I think the hypocrisy.
And did
piece-
it
Go ahead,
say
Derek.
in the voice? Sorry, I was gonna say in the voice message. Did it say that there's an article coming out tomorrow, as if he had foreknowledge of an article, or did he say the article that already came out? I didn't quite catch that, because if he had knowledge of it coming out, then that would mean he had some editorial say in it, or what?
that he knew that the online version was about to be released. So I don't know if it had been released at the time. It's unclear. We don't know, and the White House won't tell us, of course, when was the online version of the article released? Did they have awareness of it ahead of time? We do know that the New York Times sends articles to politicians and people ahead of time for review. That has come out. We absolutely know that that's the truth. So it could have very well been that the vice president got his hands on this article ahead of time about his business dealings. But it speaks to the heart of it. He's lying here because he was asked repeatedly on the campaign trail, did you ever talk to your son about his business dealings? Did you know about it? Were you talking with him about it?
And we spoke about this not too long ago when there was Excel documents released from an email where Hunter Biden's assistant was sort of negotiating bills come due and saying his father's going to pay these. And here's a list, right? We talked about this. Here's a list of what still is outstanding. And some of these monies, incoming and outgoing, seemed very suspicious and also indicated clearly that Joe Biden had a hand in them, right?
Yeah.
Even the ones that had involvements with foreign governments.
And we should be clear. I interviewed Joe Biden. I was a Philadelphia news anchor many, many years ago. I interviewed him way, many, many years ago before any of this. So, contextually speaking, it didn't make sense for me to ask about his crackhead son like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, whatever. So just to be clear on the timeline there, this wasn't like I interviewed him last week and just failed to ask him about Hunter Biden, by the way. Just to be clear on timeline, because I saw someone asking in the chat about that.
Saying, why didn't you ask him?
Yeah, why didn't you ask him about his crackhead son? It's like, well, we were talking about Pennsylvania politics, and it was many, many moons ago, so it had nothing to do with that. Nevertheless, so the phone call, right? So the phone call we played, that was in 2018. Then Peter Doocy asked Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, about this very question, and they're just playing, kick the can down the street or whatever, hide the salami. That's
a dirty innuendo.
Oh, well, I mean,
That's not what she's doing.
she's doing something.
I
but
do
she's
that
not,
all day long.
She's not answering the question. Take a listen.
Why is there a voicemail of the president talking to his son about his overseas business dealings if the president has said he's never spoken to his son about his overseas business dealings?
Well, first I'll say that what the president said stands. So if that's what the president said, that is what stands. And secondly,
about a New York Times article concerning Hunter Biden's business dealings, and he says, "I think you're clear." How is that not him talking to his son about his overseas business dealings?
We're not, from this podium, I am not going to talk about alleged materials from the laptop.
So are you disputing the president's voice on the voicemail?
I am not going to talk about alleged materials on the laptop.
Are
it's
you
not
disputing
happening.
then that it is not?
Peter, I refer you to his son's representative.
And by the way, he's the only one that asked that question in that room. No one's asking the questions. And it is absolutely stunning and remarkable to see like the big tech suppression of this story. I see it in YouTube videos. I see the pushing
It's not
down.
even front page of the Wall Street Journal, and it's, this is a foreign corruption story.
I want you to all ask yourselves, and I have no dog in this hunt. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent. I think they're all corrupt, by the way.
And
if
I was
this was
thinking
Trump,
actually
if this-
today, like, we're so glad that we're in the midterm election cycle, because if this were a presidential cycle, we'd have this chat full of people saying, oh, you're pro-Trump
You're a
because
pro-Trumper,
you're covering Hunter Biden's story, right? So we're neither, but it still feels unsafe to cover this story because the liberal media wants to ignore it.
So let me ask you the question then, right? Again, I have no dog in this hunt. Not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm an independent. If this were one of Trump's kids, like I even saw some liberal today on Twitter saying, I don't care about Hunter Biden's laptop. I want to know what's on Jared Kushner's laptop. Like, again,
Trump Jr. sniffled at a rally, and all of a sudden he's on, drugs.
Yeah, but
he sniffled on the microphone.
But
we have video weighing crack cocaine. Where is the absolute double standard in the mainstream media about this story?
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, it's smart on her part
Well,
to say.
I do like that.
What do you like?
Oh no, go ahead. Sorry, I was gonna say
Philip.
like that Jean-Pierre just basically, yeah, this is Philip, the other producer, the secret voiceover guy. Jean-Pierre basically said to that to Peter Dosey as he was asking that question. She's like, what the president says stands. Basically, whatever President Biden says is truth. It doesn't matter what evidence you have. If the president said it, well, then it's true. So just deal with it.
Right.
And that's
he's
that's
on the
such
record
an
with
interesting
the truth.
response.
Well, that's what we've heard from this White House repeatedly, right? We heard from Nick Price at the State Department saying that as well, right? When Associated Press reporters asked him specifically about proof of intelligence in Ukraine, he's like, "Well, I just told you." They're like, "No. What is your proof? What is your source for that intelligence?" Me. I'm the proof.
Yes.
It's like Dr. Fauci saying, "Me. I am God."
What I just said. I said it out loud. That's proof
I am
enough.
science.
I am science, right?
But it's clever for her to take this line, right? From now on, I do not discuss the laptop, because they had such favorable press showing, alleging that it was a fake story.
Right.
Now, at least major media has admitted that the laptop is legitimate, right? But she's still going to call it alleged so that she can put it so far away from her, because there's no answer to it. There's no legitimate answer to, I mean, if she were to speak the truth, right? You want to role play that?
Sure.
Like, what is the response?
Who am I?
to
Who am
that?
I
You're
in
Peter
this?
Doocy.
Okay. So there's new video, new audio, new phone call that just emerged showing that the president called his son and asked and talked about a New York Times article that was about to be published, and he talked about his business dealings in the article. You care to comment on that?
Yeah, so it seems that the president was involved in his son's overseas
Right.
businesses.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
And we're sorry that we told you otherwise. Next.
Yeah, literally. She would. I don't know if she would.
What?
She would get a job. I don't know where she'd be kicked out of there real fast, but then she might get a job on like an MSNBC, like almost the next afternoon, like later in the day. Wouldn't it be amazing?
Sorry, we believed the president, but this evidence is condemning, and I'm sorry, we're going to have to walk that one back.
Yeah, that looks like evidence now. I guess what the president said was total garbage. So, yes, next question, please.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website, to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.